Do I think there was moral hazard in the financial crisis? Yes, I do. Do I think that that's why we had the financial crisis? No, I tend to attribute it actually to a different phenomenon, which I also discuss in this book, which is the desire and the belief that you have engineered risk out of the system. There is nowhere as dangerous as safe. So when I started as an economics journalist in 2003, I was reporting on something called the Great Moderation. Does anyone remember this? This is great. Whole careers, where I was talking to Ken Rogoff in 2008, and he just sort of meditatively said, yeah, whole careers have been built on dissertations about the Great Moderation. I don't know what happens to any of those people.
What was the Great Moderation?
So the idea of the Great Moderation was that regulators had gotten so smart and so good at their jobs that we were never going to have another financial crisis again. That it just wasn't possible to have in a big country like the United States or the EU to have a financial crisis the way we did in 1930. And you really saw this reflected in a whole lot of things. So the bankers, for example, you would talk to them about debt and mortgage bonds and so forth, and they would say things like, yes, but for this to be a problem, you would need a sustained nationwide decline in house prices, and we've not had one of those since the Great Depression. With the implication that, of course, since the Great Depression was impossible, I tend to think of the financial crisis mostly, not entirely, but mostly as a story of everyone getting the same bad signal from the market. The central bankers saw what they were doing, and the other regulators of the financial system were easing things off in various ways, and what they saw was that nothing happened, and in fact the economy grew and inflation was level and everything looked great. Bankers were loosening credit restrictions, and what they saw was that defaults were going down. It wasn't dangerous to make a subprime loan for about 10 years. And every year they inched it a little wider, and every year they saw their defaults being fine. Now we now know that the reason defaults were fine was that because house prices just kept rising, anyone who got into trouble could simply sell the house rather than getting into trouble. Homeowners saw that everyone they knew had gotten rich owning a house, right? It was the best deal ever. You could buy a house, put in a pool and granite countertops, you could enjoy the pool and the granite countertops, and you could also retire on that. Savings as consumption, everyone thought that they had found a sure thing. And when you think that you have gotten to a place where you are safe, you're in for a double whammy. First of all, it probably means that you have reduced the number of bad things that happen, but increased the shock when they do. But it also means you're completely unprepared for it, which is in fact where we were.